Hare Krishna. Today we will discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 7, text 7. This is the third verse of the realizations from Srila Vyasadeva when he meditated on the absolute truth with devotion as instructed by Narada Muni. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jyamudire. Nastve Jyabhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevyam. Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistike. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of contest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance on the classes of the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is nearly completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of God that is praised with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. So, Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 7. Yasyam Vaishuyamanayam Krishne Parama Purushe Bhaktir Utpatyate Pumsa Sukamora Bhayapaha. We have the translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Yasyam, this Vedic literature, Vai, certainly, Shruyamanayam, simply by giving oral reception, Krishna, unto Lord Krishna, Parama, supreme, Purushe, unto the personality of Godhead, Bhakti, feelings of devotional service, Patyate, sprout up, Pumsa, of the living being, Soka, lamentation, Moha, illusion, Bhaya, fearfulness, Apaha, that which extinguishes. On the translation, simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. Purport. There are various senses of which the ear is the most effective. This sense works even when a man is deep asleep. One can protect himself from the hands of an enemy while awake, but while asleep one is protected by the ear only. The importance of hearing is mentioned here in connection with attaining the highest perfection of life, namely getting free from three material pangs. Everyone is full of lamentation at every moment, is after a mirage of illusory things, and he is always afraid of his supposed enemy. These are the primary symptoms of material disease, and it is definitely suggested herein that simply by hearing the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, one gets attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, and as soon as this is affected, the symptoms of the material diseases disappear. Srila Vyasadeva saw the all-perfect personality of Godhead, and in this statement, the all-perfect personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is clearly confirmed. The ultimate result of devotional service is to develop genuine love for the Supreme Personality of God. Love is a word which is often used in relationship with men and women. And love is the only word that can be properly used to indicate a relationship between Lord Krishna and the living entities. The living entities are mentioned as Prakriti in the Bhagavad Gita, and in Sanskrit, Prakriti is a feminine object. The Lord is always described as the Parama Purus, the supreme male personality. Thus, the affection between the Lord and the living entities is sometimes something like that between the male and the female. Therefore, the term love of God is quite appropriate. Loving devotional service to the Lord begins with hearing about the Lord. There is no difference between the Lord and the subject matter heard about him. The Lord is absolute in all respects, and thus there is no difference between him and the subject matter heard about him. Therefore, hearing about him means immediate contact with him by the process of vibration of the transcendental sound. And the transcendental sound is so effective that it acts at once by removing all material affections mentioned above. As mentioned before, a living entity develops a sort of complexity by material association, and thus illusory engagement of the material body is accepted as an actual fact. Under such false complexity, a living being under different categories of life becomes illusioned in different ways. Even in the most developed stage of human life, the same illusion prevails in the form of many isms and divides the loving relationship with the Lord, and thereby divides the loving relationship between man and man. By hearing the subject matter of the Bhagavatam, this false complexity of materialism is removed, and real peace in society begins, which politicians aspire for so eagerly in so many political situations. The politicians want a peaceful situation between man and man, and nation, but at the same time, because of too much attachment for material domination, there is illusion and fearfulness. Therefore, the politicians' peace conferences cannot bring about peace in society. It can only be done by hearing the subject matter described in Srimad Bhagavatam about the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. The foolish politicians may go on holding peace and summit conferences for hundreds of years, but they will fail to achieve success. Until we reach the stage of re-establishing our lost relationship with Krishna, the illusion of accepting the body as the self will prevail, and thus fearfulness will also prevail. As for the validity of Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from revealed scriptures, and there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from personal experience of devotees in various places like Vrindavan, Navadvip, and Puri. Even in the Kaumudi dictionary, the synonyms of Krishna are given as the son of Yasoda and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Parabrahman. The conclusion is that simply by hearing the Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, one can have direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and thereby one can attain the highest perfection of life by transcending worldly miseries, illusion, and fearfulness. These are the practical tests for one who has given submissive hearing to the readings of the Bhagavatam. The verse again. Yasyam vasho yamanayam Krishna paranatoshe bhakti utpatyate pumsa sukhamoya vaihapaha. Simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fear. Om Jnanatimrandasya Chansha Shanakaya Shakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Chichaitanyamanopistam Stapitam Yena Bhuttam Svam Rupakadamayam Dadati Svapalantikam Vandeham Shivu Shiyuda Padakamanam Shivum Vaishnavam Sha Shirupam Jagajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Satjivam Satvaitam Savutam Pajanasaitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sakalita Shivshakam Vitam Sha He Krishna Gona Sindhu Dinabanu Jatpate Gopesha Gopkakanta Radhikanta Namastuti Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhi Vrindavanashvam Vishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamama Haripe Pankakalpta Vishakripa Sinvevisa Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Nama Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Santa Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskatani Pastatani Ila Prabhupada Ki. Just simply by giving oral reception to this Srimad Bhagavatam, we become attached to Krishna and we get free from lamentation, illusion, and fear. L-I-F, lamentation, illusion, and fear. Simply by giving oral reception, it is said. At the end of the Prabhupada, Prabhupada spoke about the test. That one was actually giving submissive hearing to the readings of the Srimad Bhagavatam, he will become free from lamentation, illusion, and fear. A submissive hearing. That in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks also about hearing. We know the 6 middle chapters are about bhakti. So 7.1 is the beginning of bhakti in Bhagavad Gita. What does Krishna say? Mayasikta manapata yoga yoga matasya sa samsyam shamagam sa yatasukna sita shriman. So Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, a son of Pritha, that by practicing yoga in full conscious of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So he begins to say, now here, touch, It starts with hearing. You can become fully conscious of Krishna by hearing Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And then you can know Krishna. So that's the first thing, knowing Krishna. Because the disappearance of lamentation, illusion, and fear is a result of developing our affection to Krishna, of our relationship with Krishna. You cannot have a relationship with someone you don't know. It's not possible. The first thing is to know that person. So, and Krishna explains it, how we can know him. By hearing in full consciousness. In full consciousness. Here it is at submissive hearing. In Bhagavad Gita, it said in full consciousness. So Lord Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. And at the end, after giving Arjuna in the 18th chapter the most confidential knowledge, which is Man Mano Bhav Mad Bhakto Machi Mam Namaskar Mama Vishotyantia Padishvane Prepayosime. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, give me, offer me your respect, that, and then you will come to me, Krishna says. So if we do that, we will come to the point of surrender to Krishna. Sarva dharman prachiyamam kam samvajam sarvapabhyam machicha. That Krishna says, do not fear. I will take all your, remember, all reactions. If you follow my instructions, the instructions were given in the previous verse. Think of me, become my devotee, worship me, give me respect. And this continue after Krishna says, surrender unto me. This Param Guyam, this supreme secret, Krishna says, yeah, that one who explains this, he will go back to God. He will come back to me, Krishna says. There's no servant more dear than me, one who explains this to my devotees, but not to those who are not austere. So Krishna wants us to preach his message, to repeat his words. That so it's not just becoming his devotee. Krishna has a service for us, yes, preaching. That and then that Krishna is asking to Arjuna, Kashitita Shutam Prachta Svayakagrena Shetasha Kashita Jnana Saman Panashtaste Dhananja Shrutam Eta Shrutam. Did you hear with an attentive mind, Arjuna? So he told him the whole Bhagavad Gita. And in 7.1 he says you should hear with attention. And here in 1872, after speaking the Bhagavad Gita, he said, did you hear with an attentive mind? If you have, what is the test, Krishna says here in this verse of the Bhagavad Gita, 1872? Kasita jnana sama panashtaste dhananja. Are your ignorance and illusion now dispelled? Because this lamentation, illusion, and fear is caused by this ignorance and illusion that we are the body. That is the point. That the ignorance, what is this ignorance? The beginning of this ignorance is that we don't know Krishna. That and that is the cause of are being influenced, as mentioned in the purport, that we become under the influence of this material nature, and we suffer. That, so yes, we are in ignorance, and because we are in ignorance, we are not peaceful. That the cause of this is mentioned in the 11th canto, chapter 2, text 3. Vayam tvitiya binivesatasya isattapitasya piparyayo smiti. Tanmayayato buddha apyate tvam bhaktya kaya samkodevatatma. Fear arises when a living entity misidentified himself as the material body because of absorption in the illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant. So that's the whole problem. Become absorbed in this material energy and in this body, identifying with it. And that is because we have forgotten. We are the servant of Krishna. The soul is a servant. That we are not his body. So this bewildering, fearful condition is affected by the potency of illusion called Maya. Therefore, an intelligent person engaged in unflinching in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord, under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, Ko Devatatma. Yeah. A spiritual master whom he accepts as his forcible deity and his very life and so on. So, being in the concept of life, trying to exploit this material world, we have become a competitor of Krishna. And what's the result of that? Abhiniveshatasya. This is the final klesha, or suffering, the full misery of material existence. When we is absorbed in the material consciousness of life, and along with the material concept of life, come so many anxieties, headed by fear of death, fear of annihilation. But first there is avidya. And we don't know what is going on here. That's the problem. Therefore, when Maya offers us this false ego in the shape of this body, we are gladly accepting because of avidya. Because from avidya comes ahankar. Ahankar. I'm identifying with the body. And from identifying with the body comes raga and vesha, attachment and aversion. And as soon as we get this false ego, we think, oh, I like this, I don't like that. The mind rules us with this raga and vesha, and we become the slave of the mind. The mind will tell us what to like and what not to like. And then we follow the dictations of the mind, and we become absorbed completely in the body concept of life. That is called abhinivesha. One becomes overwhelmed with anxiety due to the fact that the annihilation of the body is pending, always pursuing this. Yeah. Then there is always this bhayam, this fear. So due to avidya, this raga and dvesha comes, and then abhinivesha. The avidya, raga, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha. This is the sequence. Avidya, ignorance. From ignorance comes asmita, false ego. False ego manifests in the form of raga, dvesha, attachment and aversion. And then the absorption in the material energy, abhinivesha, is complete. And then we are always in anxiety, bewildered by so many stressful experiences. So then instead of becoming Krishna's service, that our consciousness or memory becomes just the opposite. We are thinking ourselves the body. We think ourselves competitors of Krishna. But in Bhagavad Gita, the real fact is revealed. That the real fact is revealed that one is Krishna's competitor. No one can compete with Krishna. It's not possible, but rather every living entity is depending 100% of Krishna. 100%. I heard yesterday a lecture of Bhakti Charamaj in which he says, Krishna wants us back and he loves us. That he said, look at a tree, an apple tree. Hundreds of apples come from the tree. In each apple, there are different seeds. And from each seed, a new apple tree can come. So Krishna gives us unlimited food because he loves us. Krishna arranged for water in the form of rain. It condenses from the ocean, forms in clouds, comes to the land, and then rainfall. There's a perfect arrangement because Krishna loves us. We are dependent on Krishna. He is control of material nature. We are eternally 100% dependent of Krishna. Because we are his energy. When we are under the spiritual energy, we are surrendered to Krishna and we are depending on Krishna's spiritual energy. We are in the material energy, we are not surrendered, but we depend 100% of the material energy which comes from Krishna. So always 100% dependent on Krishna. And of course, we have Sarvasya and Vishnamata Smriti and Namampam. So even for our remembrance and knowledge, we are dependent on Krishna. Unless Krishna helps us to forget him, we cannot. So atheists should thank God that he's helping them to forget them. So our desires are like prayers to God. And the super soul notices desires. Upadrastanamanta bhakta bhakta maishva paramatme sapyukto desmin purusha para. So the Bhaktishastri students may remember this verse describing the super soul as the overseer. Is the overseer and the Anumanta, the permitter. Upadrashta, the overseer. Krishna understands our desires. That the material world has been created because of our desire. It's a place to fulfill material desires. And it's just because we want. He created this place. And it goes on because of our desires. But Krishna is neutral. That, but of course, when we want to go back to Krishna, we have to become one with Krishna one in dovetailing our desires with Krishna's desires. We cannot stop desire, but all our desires can be used in Krishna's service some way or another. That we can't stop the changing of the body. What control do we have over the body? That Srila Prabhupada told to Tamal Krishna Goswami. Yeah. That's told how from Krishna comes Balaram, from Balaram comes the first set of Shiva, that Vasudev, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Sankarshan, and from this Sankarshan the second set of Shiva comes, and then from this second Sankarshan comes Mahavishnu, and Mahavishnu exhales. And he exhales, he creates unlimited practically universe. And he enters each universe. And then he expands him in the universe as Kshirodakasaya, Vishnu and Brahma and all the planetary. And in that universe there are unlimited planets. And we are one planet, and on this planet there are many countries. One country is America, and in America there are many states, and one state is California. And in California there are many cities. And in one of these cities is Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles there are many streets, and in the street of the temple there are many houses. And there in that temple, the temple president thinks he's controlling everything. So how insignificant we are. But to realize how we are depending on Krishna, Krishna makes a point in the Bhagavad Gita. There are 5 factors of action: the body, the mind, and the endeavors in the mind, and the senses. They are under control of the super soul. So these are 4 factors, and we are the 5th factor. We are desiring. So if we desire something and we act upon it, then we are doing 20% of the doing. 80% is done by material nature under the control of the super soul. So Krishna says in the next verse, one who does not consider these 5 factors of action is not very intelligent. So by our bewildering, we cause problems for ourselves by lack of intelligence. So like Lord Brahma, when he started to create, he prayed to Krishna. He prayed to Krishna for empowerment, introspection, and protection. These 3 things. Empowerment, introspection, and protection. So, because Brahma knew I'm completely dependent on Krishna. So he was praying for protection and for empowerment and introspection. Before we do something, we should also pray to our spiritual masters, Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, for empowerment, introspection, and protection against illusory energy. But Lord Krishna replied to Brahma, yes, everything you have prayed for is granted. As long as you will be engaged in your service for me, your devotional service of creation, you are absorbed in it, you will be protected against Maya. So everyone who thinks himself in this world, I'm great, is certainly fallen. So how to come out of this complexity, this entanglement in material nature? Therefore, Krishna in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he speaks about the banyan tree and the banyan tree, and he says, yes, one should cut this tree with the weapon of detachment. So this weapon of detachment, we come to detachment when we are out of ignorance. We come out of ignorance when we are linked up again with Krishna in devotional service. So, because Lord Krishna speaks about that in the 15th chapter, after explaining this banyan tree, Nirmama Moha, Chitasanga Dosha, Adhyatma Nitya Vinivritta Kama, Transfer Vimukta, Sukha Samyer Kachanta Mudapa Padamavyam Tat. That those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association. So we are in the verse of today, it's lamentation, illusion, and fear. Here it is also illusion, prestige, and false association. Who understands the eternal, who is done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, free from this raga and dvesa, who unbewildered means out of ignorance, all the same thing, he surrenders to the Supreme Lord and attains to my eternal kingdom. So that is the solution, surrender. But it starts all with becoming free from ignorance. And Krishna already stressed that in the 5th chapter of the Gita, that 5th chapter, I think it's verse 16, yeah. Jnanena tu tat achanam, yesham nashtam atmana, tesham aditya bhatsyanam pakshata tatparam. However, when is enlightened with knowledge where its essence is destroyed, then this knowledge reveals everything and lights up everything in the daytime. So then we start to see things as they are. But the solution is to come out of this ignorance, of this avidya, is hearing about Krishna. But many times we hear and we don't hear because our minds are interfering with the hearing. So Krishna wants us to prove that we are serious about hearing. If you have heard with attention, then this hearing leads to introspection. Introspection means hearing and understanding how I can practice this knowledge in my life. If we do not come to that point of practicing this knowledge, then we are losing our time. It's a nice entertainment, maybe. We hear something before we take the prasad. But no, we must be inquisitive how to apply them in our lives. The hearing must also lead to an increased faith in Krishna. That increased faith, that faith will do this lamentation, illusion, and fear go away. So we should always think how to remain fixed in devotional service. What's my plan during the day to become fixed in devotional service? So we must have a plan to continuously absorb ourselves in devotional service. I've here this little thing. See that? I put this on, and what happens?
Music.
And in the Mahabharata, Mahabharata means the history of great India. Maha means great.
I said, I put it on and Srila Prabhupada started to speak. It's one lecture after another. I have to cook, I have to clean, I have to iron things, but I'm hearing Prabhupada. Always. I traveled many years with Prahlad Nanda Maharaj, and he took that thing everywhere, in the bathroom, and then he was doing exercise for his health. He was hearing Prabhupada constantly. Hearing, planning our lives as such that we can hear. I went with Prahlad Nanda Maharaj, I was with him in the airport, we went to many airports together. And at the boarding, he would sit down and he would read Bhagavatam from his laptop or iPad, and he would not see anything else. That completely aloof of his environment practically. That he would not look at him, he would not let his eyes look at so many things. That therefore, we need, in the beginning of our devotional life, to cultivate this sense of hearing. We have to learn sense control in our life. We have to learn balance. We have to learn focus of mind. We need to study Srila Prabhupada's books on a regular basis. We have to learn to worship the spiritual master, because that's where the mercy comes from. We have to be trained in selfless service to the spiritual master and Krishna. We have to actively render service. That's asatsangatya. We should learn to disassociate from materialistic people. We have to learn how to deal respectfully with the opposite sex. So these are all things we have to learn in the beginning of our spiritual life. Because this brahmachari training, whether one is a woman or a man, one should follow this brahmachari training. That will help one to hear. Because when the mind is controlled, or somewhat controlled, you can start hearing with attention. That was the point of Arjuna. Did you hear with attention? So otherwise we cannot remain fixed in devotion service. It's important to study the Vedic mantras regularly. It means hearing Bhagavatam. And before we start this study, we pray to the spiritual master for empowerment, introspection, protection, and we should live a balanced life. Balanced life and hearing goes together. If you eat too much, you fall asleep. It's difficult to focus your attention. The body is busy with digestion and so on. So until before in the Bhagavatam in the class in the morning, yes, we should balance our eating and sleeping. If we sleep too much, the ignorance is too deep, difficult to come out. Maximum 6 hours, Prabhupada says. And after hearing, we must do selfless service, actively rendering service. And disassociate ourselves from materialistic people. Of course, these are instructions for brahmacharis, but also the Grihastha is a brahmachari. The Vaishya also, or the Vanaprastha, it goes back, he adds tapasya to it. And the sannyasi, he should show the example to the brahmacharis. So these instructions are for everyone. And these instructions gives us entrance to freedom by ardent hearing from lamentation, illusion, and fear. Sukha moha bhaya paha. So because yes, everyone wants to become satisfied. But if the mind is absorbed in abhiniveshata, materialistic things, you get the opposite. The mind is disturbed. So everyone wants peace, but nobody knows where to find peace. But Krishna says, peace, bhaktam sagatapasam sarvalokmaisulam suram sarvabhutnam gatvam santim uchati. You must know first that who I am. I am the proprietor of all the planets, everything that exists. Understanding who Krishna is, that is the enjoyer of everything, that everything belongs to him. And that Krishna factually is the best friend for everyone. If one has faith in these three things, santim richam, one gets santi, peace. Because then one comes out of avidya. And this realization comes from hearing. The Bhagavatam explains, Krishna is the proprietor of everything. By explaining the creation 2 times, we understand it comes from Krishna, yes. Oh, he's the proprietor. He's the proprietor of everything. And because he's the proprietor, he's the enjoyer. And we should be the cooperator. And Krishna is our friend. He does not want us to stay in this material world. But yes, so the process begins by hearing. So what we can learn from this lesson is, the process begins by hearing, but our hearing is not good. So we have to perfect our hearing. The quality of our hearing. If we protect the quality, of our hearing, then what will be the result? Srila Prabhupada speaks about the test in the purport, that the test is, yes, when lamentation, illusion, and fear are gone or diminished, that means we have surpassed the test by attentive hearing. We have heard attentively. If we are not hearing attentively, and then the lamentation, illusion, and fear is not going away. But if we are hearing attentively, then what will be the result? We will come really to developing the symptoms of bhava. That we will always be anxious to use all our time in Krishna's service. That we are perseverant, committed to the process. And we become not really attracted from all of this material. We don't want any material aspect that, and we have faith in Krishna. Krishna will give us, be merciful to us. That, and one becomes more and more eager to serve Krishna, and more eager to chant Krishna's holy name. That, and one becomes more and more eager to speak about Krishna. That, and one wants to live in a temple in a holy place, wants to live in Mathura, Vrindavan, Dwarka, Mayapur. So these are the symptoms that must appear as a result of attentive hearing. Yeah, I have in 15 minutes the VRG Bhakti Vaibhava class starting. So I will stop here. Any questions, please?
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for a wonderful class and giving importance of hearing. So Maharaj, many times I attempted to keep the classes in the background, but then when we are engrossed in some other things, then I don't hear those classes, or I miss important points. Then should we still continue to keep that running, or would that help, or it's better to hear attentively?
That first class is hearing attentively. That at least during the Bhagavatam class, we should be very attentive. If we do other things during the day and we hear Prabhupada, try to also hear with attention as much as possible. That it will not be so effective, but something will go in for sure. You will remember something, that it has an effect on the long term. But better is first class. So the Bhagavatam class in the morning should be reserved for hearing with attention. And when one hears with attention and when one is introspective, probably one will have questions also. That's also a symptom of one who has heard attentively. The person has questions or comments or whatever. And that is important. Yeah. but if one does not hear with attention, it's second class hearing. And the hearing will not bear big results, but better not hearing than no hearing. That's the point. Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. Someone else? Okay, then we will meet next week on the 1st of September, Friday the 1st of September. I will be in Ujjain. Hopefully they can arrange some good internet there. I will contact them. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna. Jai Prabhupada. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Bol.